Hello, this is Ogen Norbert Hindrup, MBA at James Cook University, and I'm here to talk about the essay that I've written for my module Changing Business Environment. The topic of the essay is technological change. I want to talk about the implications of globalization and technological advancement on our day-to-day lives and the rising issue of inequality that we see across the world. Now, globalization and technological advancement are two booming phenomena that has happened in the 21st century, and it is acknowledged to be the cause of so much of development, progress, and prosperity across the world. But on the other hand, it is also being blamed for causing so much of injustice and inequality issues that we see across the world right now. Now, globalization is always about the world coming together and doing business together, in short, changing ideas and products and consumers and the interchanging of values, right? So when that happens, it always often leads to trade wars. And in the trade wars, who do we see on the news? It is always the bigger countries like USA, China, Russia, and other developed countries. So it leads to an international competition which is very much seriously taken by the developed countries, whereas the smaller countries has basically no say in the trade wars because smaller countries like us, like Bhutan, is never on the news. But anyway, now technological advancement and globalization are closely knit. One is dependent on the other. Technological advancement leads to globalization, and globalization leads to technological advancement, right? And the combination, the duo, has caused so much of inequality. Another example that I can talk about is the FDI scheme that we see happening in the developing countries. What happens is foreign bigger companies come into developing countries and establish the company there with the cheap cost of labor and raw materials, and they produce and export, and the huge chunk of the profit is being taken by the foreign bigger companies. And that leads, of course, that provides job opportunities and a source of income for the small countries, but then at the end of the day, that also leads to the income inequality in the developing country. Now, the technological advancement, like I said, is one key factor that has been boosting globalization. But when the technological progress and advances, it also leads to the inequality. For example, developed countries are so much into robotics, AI, and they are into the advanced form of storing data in the blockchain. They are in the advanced form of financial systems of cryptocurrency, which are so complex. But the developing countries are still struggling with supplying electricity, water, and proper road connection, and so on and on. So you see, the technological advancement is pushing the better even further, whereas this hasn't helped the developing countries and the poorer communities. Another example that I can talk about is without globalization and technological advancement, people like Elon Musk would have never existed. His net worth is 260 billion, I think, plus or minus. And I come from Bhutan, and my country's GDP annually, on average, is about 2.3 to 2.2 billion dollars, US dollars, in a year. That means his net worth is over 100 times more than the GDP of our entire country. And how fair is that? Without globalization and technological advancement, these sorts of inequality would have never happened. Back in the 15th century and 16th century, there were no billionaires. Apart from the royalties and the powerful people, on average, in my opinion, the world wouldn't have been that unequal in terms of earning and in terms of the capabilities. But right now, globalization has been a good thing, but also has caused so much of inequality across the world. And to conclude, uh, I see the only way, which is very much impossible, but the only way forward is that the bigger countries and the developed countries needs to bring up the developing countries and the poorer communities. They need to share, and they need to not really wait, but as they move, they need to also pull the rest of the world together. And that way, I think the inequality issue cannot be avoided, but can be reduced to some extent. And thank you for listening to my presentation.